Hello, it's Jesse here today, and I just thought I'd do a quick little chat here about gender, my personal perspectives on gender. But first, I should probably get sex out of the way. So, sex is the primary and secondary physical characteristics of a human being, or any animal, really. We have male, female, intersex. Those are the three categories that we have: male, female, intersex. Then we get into gender. So, gender is a very interesting thing. Gender is the social expectations, norms, and mores that are expected surrounding the male, female. So, we have male, female, masculine, feminine. Those are the genders. The traditional genders. Now, gender is obviously a lot more open than some people previously thought, but again, it's going to change society to society throughout time. But what we always have to remember is that we are all playing a role. Now, I did my degree in sociology, and I focused a lot on sex and gender as part of my degree. And one of my favorite theorists was Irving Gouldman. I mean, he passed away a long time ago. Canadian-born American sociologist, Chicago School of Sociology. His first really good and famous book, came out in 1953, 1956, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life. It even has a picture as what's described on the book cover as two transvestites being arrested. So obviously he was aware of some of this stuff. And then Stigma is really good. Gender advertising, interaction ritual. You read all this stuff and really makes a lot more sense. So here's the basis of the theory. We all play roles. We all have a role to play. We are all actors in a massive play that is society. And we have to learn those roles and play those roles. And we have certain expectations of what other roles people are going to be playing, so that we can get our lines and our blocking right, so we know how to act out this massive play that we're in. So, I'm a 38-year-old male. I was assigned masculine gender, and I am not totally opposed to it. In essence, I was assigned, all right, you're going to go play Romeo. And I'm not opposed to it. Somebody who is cisgendered, they're going to go, oh, you're Romeo. And they go, yeah, that makes sense. I'm cool with that. And somebody who is transgendered, fully transgendered, wanting to go all the way, they're going to say, oh, well, you're going to play Romeo. And they're going to go, no, I'm totally a Juliet. And then there's those of us in the middle, in the rest of the gender spectrum, the gender fluids or the bigenders. I play Romeo or Juliet. I don't do very well in the middle. So, we have all of these roles that we need to learn to play, and we want to know what everybody else is playing. And this is one of the reasons why transvestites, it was 1950s at that point in time, were on the front of the cover of the book, because it is just so hard for some people to contemplate that some men are also women, that some men will just like dressing up and looking like women. It is really hard for them to deal with. And that's also where the basis of drag comes from, as an art form, as an expression, right? It's going against social expectations. Yeah. So that's sort of the basis of that. Now, I am not planning on switching roles all the way over to being just a woman. I'm going to be playing some version of my male role for the rest of my life. I don't mind playing the male role. I just really want to get the female lead also. So, I'm going to have to learn a whole bunch of things about my role. I am going to have to learn how she likes to do her hair, what sort of clothes she likes to wear. I'm going to have to figure out how to operate inside of a women's washroom. This should be interesting. There's all these things I have to learn. Now, the plus side is that we are allowed a certain time in order to learn how to play these roles. Children are given it because they're taught, and they have to be taught how to play these roles that are expected of them. When you go into a store and instead of saying Jesse on the name tag, it's going to say, I'm in training so that we, as the customer, understand that this person may not be playing the role we expect them to 100%. We're going to give them a little bit more leeway. So I have some time here. It's going to be a compressed time frame. Now, to be honest, it would be a lot easier if I was just going all the way over to the other role, so I could forget about how to play the old role. But I'm not. So that's going to be one of my challenges. And by gender, some people get really confused because they expect you to be playing male or female. And they want to know who's showing up, and they want to know which one's which and who they're talking to. These roles are also some of the reasons that some people are so insistent on using different names. It's a character. Some people ask, oh, are you the same person when you're Jesse? And I'm like, yeah. And still Jesse. Jesse was a pen name. It's my actual middle name, but it's been a pen name as a way to cover and protect myself until I just went, screw it, I'm coming out. And it has a lot more meaning for me as that, but people have really sort of latched onto it. Oh, so you're Jesse now. No, not necessarily. My first name's Logan. It's male and female. 60-40 split on that. So it's part of it is so that I am able to get into that role, but it's also so that other people are able to lay that other role on top of me, so they don't have that conflict between the two roles that I am playing. It's easier for them to assign different pronouns to Jesse. It is easier for them to expect somebody slightly different than if I was using my male name, my real first name, and not just my middle name. That's a little high added. And that's some of the challenges that we have to face, is that we all have roles. And while, yes, we absolutely have to live the life that we want, and we shouldn't be held too far back, we do have to remember that these expectations are there, and they're there for a reason. They're there so that people can read and learn, and they know what to expect. It's sort of like when you're in high school. And depending on which part of the world you're in, you almost certainly know which side of the hallway you're walking down beside classes. I'm in North America, and we always walk down the right-hand side of the hallway between classes, just like driving down a road. And I've asked a few people from England and other parts of the world where they drive on the left-hand side, and guess what? They walk down the left-hand side. It's those expectations that we know we're not going to bump into each other. It maximizes flow of everything. Or when you're driving, you expect people to follow the rules of the road. And that is what makes driving a lot safer. If nobody is following any of the rules, it'd be chaos and nothing would get done. So, these gender roles that society assigns to us, they're not BS. They are and they aren't. They're really important and they're not necessarily important. But it is really important that we, those of us who cross-dress or are gender fluid or bigendered or transgendered or even cisgendered, if you just have an interest in the area, have an understanding of the other gender roles that we are taking on, so that we can play them effectively, so that we can mitigate some of that conflict between everybody, so that they feel more comfortable with us. There might be a bit of minstrelization involved in this, which would be from Stigma, which is another good book by Goffman. If you ever have a chance, Presentation of Self in Everyday Life is fantastic. Stigma is really good. Wasn't as much into asylums. And those are the early ones. And they are really interesting, can really put everything back into perspective when you're working with this stuff. So, yeah, it's important that we learn those roles and play those roles. And minstrelization is when we are playing a role, right? It might be a caricature, like the minstrel or something like that. You're playing it up and you're adhering to it so much. And drag would be the prime example. You are playing that role so hard, it is a joke. And that's where it fits in. So that's my quick little brief on where I fit into gender based upon actual sociological social theory. Yeah. And this is the part where I go, all my stuff that you should be looking at. I guess like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, put in the comments what you would like me to talk about. I'm also going to put in the description my Twitter handle and my blog, which I've been doing since 2013, and you can see my evolution from I'm a cross-dresser into I'm by gender into pretty sure I'm a transgendered woman who's going to be playing a guy sometimes. And that's where that's all going to be coming up. So I guess I'm going to be putting like subscribe here, previous video here, somewhere around here. And that's all I have to say today. So thank you very much for watching. And this is Jesse signing off for the day.